So now today we're going to read about conditions experienced at 8 chakra. Again, as we are going through, please do share anything you observe, and if you have any questions, please do share so that it'll help everyone. So the conditions experienced at the 8 chakra. Now, this lot of times this question comes up, even though we at each point we did talk about the conditions we go through. So often this question comes up, what is a condition? Is it a mental state or is it something deeper than that? Correct? So this condition is what we are experiencing is beyond mental state. Of course, it comes down, it percolates down to the mental state. And that's when we say, oh, I had a deep meditation or I had some kind of a weird experience in meditation and things like that. So when it comes to a mental state, we sort of know, cognize. But a condition which is experienced is at a much deeper state. But so this is a practice, correct? Here, meditation is not a practice about controlling the mind, which a lot of people think of like that. There is no controlling the mind at all. We have to understand that very well. Even at the beginning of meditation, there is no control at all. In meditation, I repeated so many times, we are not doing anything. Meditation is act of doing nothing. So when I'm doing nothing, how can I control anything? Right? So when we go deep, means there is, in the text, there are four states described. One is the waker. We are awake right now. We are listening. We are looking at the screen. We are trying to process the discussion and stuff like that. That is all waking state. Then we go into sleep. In sleep, we are not aware of the body or surroundings or anything. That's another state of being or state of consciousness. And the dream is another state of consciousness. And because there is no name for the fourth state, it is called the fourth state. In Sanskrit, it is called Turiya. That is the fourth state. And fourth state of consciousness, which is neither I'm awake, nor I'm sleeping, nor I'm dreaming. So they don't know how to describe it, so they called it fourth state. But what meditation takes us is to the beyond the fourth state. Turiya Atit. Atit means to go beyond. So what meditation is doing is taking us beyond the fourth state. Now, beyond the fourth state is not a single condition. It's many, it's infinite. That's where the journey towards the infinity begins. That means in every meditation it is happening. It's not that you have to practice for 100 years before you can hit that state. It's not like that. In every meditation it takes place. So when we reach this beyond state, see, in sleep itself, our mind is off. In dream, it is somewhat turned on. But in the fourth state, we call it like the samadhi. There is no awareness. Awareness in the sense, awareness of the mental and physical and bodily conditions. In the fourth state, it is beyond the fourth state is much deeper. Like I have been saying, as we go deeper and deeper, the experiences which we experience in the deeper state will come to a mental state. It's like this. Suppose If I go into deep sleep, when will I say I'm in a deep sleep? You can never be in the deep sleep and say I'm in the deep sleep, correct? When we get up from that deep sleep, when we gain our waking consciousness, then we say, I was in a deep sleep. How do you know you are in a deep sleep? So that condition of the deep sleep now came into a waking conscious state. So all these conditions will come to a mental state for us to speak about it. So that's what the condition which occurred in a deep state. Somehow it percolates down, like I said in the beginning. And that's how we know a condition. All right. So by the time you are at the eighth chakra, many noticeable changes occur. Some of the most important are synchronicity becomes routine. Some of you may notice deeper synchronicity within your surroundings. You may be pondering a question and the answer appears in the book you are reading. You think of someone, the distant past, they drop you a note. You wish something well for a family and it happens. Such synchronicities have occurred before too, but they occur so often that you stop wondering about them. They become such a routine affair that you rely on them. You get into rhythm of waiting for a hint or a sign, and sure enough it shows up. It's one of the ways that surrender expresses itself in your behavior. So let's read this. Such synchronicities occurred before too, but now they occur often that you stop wondering about them. So they become such a routine affair that you rely on them. So this is all intuition, basically. So you get into a rhythm of waiting for a hint or a sign, sure enough, it shows up. It's one of the ways that surrender expresses itself in your behavior. A lot more can be said on about this topic, but it would be better to experience how synchronicity manifests in the daily life and guides you. You see this, so the life becomes an open book. So in a way, you are able to, it's not that you are able to see what is going to happen, but somehow, whenever there is an obstruction in your thought, an obstruction is a question. And a lot of times when these questions about the future comes up, we get worried, we get into a state, what will happen? What will happen if this, if I lose my health? What will happen if this happens? So many things we think about. Oh, I don't have enough money to repair my car. What should I do if my car breaks down? But the car is not broke right now. The car is running fine. But we are kind of creating these future projections. So, in a state of surrender, one biggest thing which happens is the future projections drop off. When the future projections drop, your worries are completely going away. And even if there is anything, something like that happens, any question, anything comes into your mind, somehow the clarity also develops around that question. Somehow it happens, somehow the help will come to you, right? So that is the state of surrender. A saint claims that I am in total surrender, and he was going in a boat, and it's stuck in a hurricane, and he was praying to the God. A big boat comes on the way, and they say, "Hey, we'll pull you in, just hold the rope." And the guy says, "No, no, I'm praying for God. He will come and help me because I am such a saint who have surrendered." So then something else comes to his aid, and he rejects all the aids. And he's in front of the Saint Peter the next day. He says, "I prayed for you, you did not come and rescue." And the God says, "I have sent you three people to rescue, but you did not take it." You see, somehow we think some extraordinary thing has to happen, in this esoteric world, understanding. And our stories, old stories tell us like that. Some splash happens, some thunder happens, the God appears and takes you and lifts you up like a Superman. And we assume the same thing will happen in our lives too, but it never happens. Because those are all fiction, they're not real stories. In real stories, someone will always come to your aid. And all aid is from the higher only. Somehow the situation happens like that. So that is what the synchronicity is. Okay. So, any comments, questions before I move on to the next one? All right. So, relationship with the guru. I have observed that in Asian countries and other parts of the East, it is common for families to have a spiritual teacher. They may have a photo of the teacher in the household and follow their teachings. The main focus is on the teacher. On the other hand, in West, there is a greater emphasis on the teaching itself, with the Western mind evaluating and assessing the teachings before focusing on the teacher. So, despite these differences, the goal remains the same: spiritual growth. In the heartfulness way, by the time you arrive at the eighth chakra, you may have spent years, possibly decades, with the practice. So, by now, the spiritual anatomy project becomes a top priority for you. You also develop an authentic curiosity about the Guru. Beyond the person, the physical presence, you are keen to comprehend the Guru as a principle. This idea helps one think of the Guru as guiding energy or an inspiration. See the difference here, thinking of Guru as a principle, Guru as a person, there is a huge difference. At some point, right, in our practice, in our journey, both of them merge at some point. And that's when we start really, truly following a guru. Until that point, all that we are following are the teachings of the guru. It doesn't matter whether it's Western or Eastern, it's all the same. Humans are all the same, right? So, why? Because, I mean, the practice has to prove in our lives. Otherwise, why would I even think about the guru if the practice is not proved in my life? And typical, in the Eastern thinking, they make someone as God, and then then the gurus become God. Even some gurus are called gods. And even in our prayer, this question comes up so many times. People have asked in many seminars, and wherever the topic of the prayer comes up. In the prayer, it says, "Oh Master." So, who is this Master? Right? Is the master a person or someone? Is it Babuji? Is it like Lalaji? Is it Daji or who? Who is the master? Right? So in the master here is referring to that principle of higher essence, right? So if you see this movie, Passion of Christ, even Jesus is addressed as master. So why? Because this master is a principle, the higher principle. And we are not truly attributing it to a person, but to the principle itself. And then in the prayer it says, Thou art the God and the power. I often myself ask this question, why God and power? Is God not power? And you will be surprised to hear God is not power. God is the essence. Here, power means the one who understands our situation and pulls us up. So, here, if you truly ask me, the principle is God and power. Because who can understand our situation and help us? And God is God, the higher essence. The higher essence is in everything and in everywhere, omniscient, omnipresent. So, such a higher principle cannot have the what you should say, it cannot have a human kind of a mind to judge a situation. It is not prejudiced. Oh, this is my disciple. Oh, this is the one who surrendered to me. Or he is a sinner. That idea is not there in a godly principle. So it requires that additional human consciousness or mind for it to become a principle. That's why it becomes God and power. So that it can help us with our situation and uplift us to this higher state. So, to me, that's how I define the Guru. The Guru is the principle with the godly essence in it. And trust me, we all have the same essence. It is not something special. We all have the same essence. But the only thing is, we are not bringing that essence and using that in our lives correctly. So, this idea helps one think of the Guru as a guiding energy or an inspiration. So, in that sense, the Guru is not necessarily a specific person but a concept or an idea that represents the highest potential of human consciousness. So, this is how a Guru is referred as. Such shift in thinking encourages aspirants to look within, to connect with their inner wisdom, and cultivate a richer understanding of their place in the universe. It leads to soulful inquiries like how do I deepen the heart to heart connection? How do I experience what the Guru experienced? What is my real identity? What does it mean by saying what is my real identity? So, a real identity, see, right now we are identifying with whatever we think we are. First, we identify with our body, then we identify with our possessions, the material possessions, then we identify with our culture, and then we identify with our intellectual abilities, things like that. But when this identity becomes that of the higher principle, then these conditions we are talking about make sense. Then the spiritual journey makes sense. Then the Guru makes sense. Otherwise, if that identity is not developed, then none of these make sense at all. And lot of times we may follow to heal the body or heal my situations, heal my um, you know mental issues, heal my worries. For those things we follow meditation or a guru. But if we recognize this higher identity within us, then this following this principle completely have a different meaning and a different context. So all that meditation is giving us is this real identity. Why? Because we are meditating on that divine presence within us. That means we are meditating on that identity itself. So the principle of meditation is we become that which we meditate on. Hence, we should develop this identity as we meditate. All right. So I'll stop here for any comments, questions.